Recording started.
ठीक है. All right. Oh, great. Great.
All right. Hi, everyone. Good afternoon. Let's just give it a few more seconds to see more people joining, and then we'll get started.
Yeah. Let's wait for a couple of minutes and then we can start.
Yep.
So we'll be starting this webinar shortly. Just waiting for a few more people to join in so everybody's on the same page. Just a minute or minute.
All right, Harit, shall we get started?
Yes, I think we can start. Maybe a minute or people are joining in.
Right. Let's just give it another minute.
Yeah, sure.
All right. I think we have a handful of people. Let's get started.
Sure.
All right. Cool. So once again, welcome guys, and thank you so much for taking out time to join this webinar. My name is Amandeep, and I'm a senior data engineer. I have about 10 years of experience with the past 5 years working on different cloud technologies in the world of data. All right. Today, we are going to talk about the data and the various career opportunities that are associated with it. All right. As I understand that most of you are recent college pass outs or in the entry level stage of your career, I'll just quickly help you understand the various roles and data in the world of data that our industry is functioning in. And then we'll talk about the different opportunities that lie for you in the world of data. And then we'll also help you guide how you can start your data driven career. Right. So let's get started. So just to give you quick insights of, I mean, this is something which is very common that we, all of us realize that the WhatsApp, YouTube, Netflix, and all these social media platforms these days are becoming a good medium of generating and consuming data. So you can see 42 million of messages are shared on WhatsApp, 500 hours of content are uploaded on YouTube every 60 seconds. And at the bottom, if you see, 90% of the world's data was created in the last 2 years alone, and it is expected to double after every 2 years. So by just these two facts, you can imagine the rate at which we are producing data. And hence, there's a lot of data specific requirements as to, derive the right insightful data out of this and, serve it for various purposes for customers, for businesses, and for companies and everything. All right. So that goes to show that there's a lot of a scope in the world of data. There's a lot of work and there's a lot of learning and growth associated with it. So what exactly is data? We spoke a lot about data. So what exactly it is about? So data is everything, and everything is data, literally, like your name, your age, phone number, email ID, and everything, all the information that belongs to you, that belongs to a company or belongs to any person or any place, everything is data, right? So by just making any kind of decision in life, we are basically gathering the data points to make that decision. So the whole purpose of data is to gather the knowledge outside of it and then convert it into the actionable items. So the purpose is to extract useful information from the data that is being produced and stored and consumed these days, and that can eventually help us make some business, not only business decisions but any kind of decisions. For example, you got into this college, or you are going for a specific career path, or you have opted a particular stream in your career. So there are certain data points that you must have collated before making that decision, right? So everything that we do in our normal lives and the family and friends level, to the point where how organization works, it's mainly dependent on the data. Now this data, the way it is available is not very useful. It has to go through a step of processes, and a bunch of people have to work on it to make it refined to a point where the actions can be generated out of it, and it can be implemented for some proper benefits for people, or making revenue and all those things. Okay, so you must have heard this term big data, which is very common these days. So let me tell you how it is different from data. So the big data has these 5 characteristics: volume, variety, value, velocity, and veracity. Where we are talking about huge amount of data, the data coming from different sources, right? We only talk about the useful data that can be extracted out of it, and the speed at which the data is getting produced, and the inconsistency and the uncertainty in which this data is produced. For example, Facebook, Twitter, YouTube, all these systems are very highly available and highly scalable, right? So they are producing huge amount of data, they are producing it all the time, right? So, and there are different sources through which they are getting data, all right? So these characteristics basically define a data. By the virtue of it, it becomes a big data, right? So big data is not a literally technical term. It is just a representation that we are talking about data at a scale. All right. And as we all understand that we are living in the world of real-time updates, all these social media systems that you use these days on your mobile phone are updating real time, right? By real time, it means that they are continuously delivering feeds or updates or notifications to your phone, right? Then there are user tracking systems, like you order a pizza and then you can track it, that when it is getting baked to a point when it is delivered to your home. Then there are financial services like stock market or banking, and the e-commerce like Amazon, Flipkart, all these, and even a simple Google search that you do is quickly responsive. So it's a world of real-time updates where all these things with regards to data should happen in a very fast manner, right? As soon as the data is generated, it should be processed and it should be presented in the form of in a consumable form where user can consume it quickly. So having said that, with big data, there are a lot of challenges that we have to face, which is why there are a lot of opportunities and roles to solve those problems and work in that data world. There are some of the problems on your screen, for example, working on large amounts of data and finding and fixing the data quality issues, data integration between various systems, and so on, right? So these are all the real world problems that the engineers or the different data professionals, as we will see in the further slides, try to solve in a project and try to produce results in the form of meaningful data insights. Okay. So at present, in 2022, these are the major cloud service providers in the world. Mainly, we are going to talk about the AWS, Microsoft Azure, and Google platform, because you can see that the market share is majorly dominant by these three clouds. AWS is the oldest, and Azure is very user-friendly and most adaptable. And Google Cloud is pretty much recent, not very recent, but yeah, it is also showing some really good features and adaptability. The rest of the market is by 39% of for the rest of the clouds. So mainly in today's discussion, we are going to talk about the opportunities, the learning path, and the career path that is offered and available in with respect to these three leading cloud providers. All right. So as of 2022, various surveys shows that 93% of the companies say that big data is a top 5 IT priority in 2022. Now, just a quick example of how you can understand that how important the data is. If you look at the last 2 decades, the decade of 2000 to 2010 was where all the companies were trying to get online. They were building their websites to show the online presence, to reach more and more customers, right? To do the marketing and publicity. So that was the era of website development and more people learning to get on the website. Era of the computer cafes, when people used to pay for the internet surfing. We didn't had enough mobile phones or laptops to quickly look at these things. So we were doing that kind of transformation. Then in the last decade, from 2010 to 2020, it was the era of mobile phones. Smartphone evolved and a lot of mobile applications were created. And eventually the whole purpose was to provide the data delivered in the more adaptable way. Earlier, you had to open up a laptop and pay for the internet usage. Now you have the mobile phone and the very fancy apps available where you can quickly open up and just do whatever you want, almost everything from your mobile phone, right? So all these apps are nothing but just the interpretation, the representation of the data itself that they contain. And now in this decade that we have started in 2021, most of the companies, especially in the past 2 years of COVID, are migrating hugely to the data-driven platform worlds. So they are trying to, understand their own data. For example, companies like Amazon, Flipkart, they are spending a lot of time and resources to understand their data, so that they can take meaningful insights out of it and run their business forward and serve their customers in a better way. All right. So there's a lot of opportunities, and 93% of the companies are optimistic about the big data in this decade. So Needless to say that there are immense opportunities for you as a starter, as a college pass out, or as an entry level engineer in the industry. There are a lot of opportunities for you in these roles. Now, let me just help you take through the major roles that are available in the data world, and what that means, right? And how you can build a career out of it. So mainly there are four different kind of fields in data, or you can say different roles which are available with respect to data and the projects in the industry these days. First is called the data analyst. It is, I mean, first of all, let me tell you, nothing is very new here. All these roles used to exist in one way, shape, or form. But now that the big data has evolved and more data is being produced, we have the requirement of more and more of these people, right? So data analysts, data engineers, machine learning engineers, and data scientists. These are the four major roles that we can categorize in. There is data governance and data quality manager and all those things, but they are, you can say, the subset of these roles only, right? So let me just quickly take you in the next 4-5 slides as to what exactly these roles do and how they are different from each other, right? So in terms of the career path, data analyst, this person visualizes the data that helps business decisions. So on the internet, you must have seen very fancy reports and the charts that are built in, the dashboards basically. So these data analysts are the ones behind it. They present the data in the very interactive way so that it is quickly readable and the meaningful insights can be taken out of it. So they produce those dashboards or reports for management to make key decisions. Now, what you should have to be a data analyst, even if you are just, intermediate level of proficiency in Excel, wherein, advanced Excel things like pivot tables, charting, formulas, if you're good at that, you can start your journey as a data analyst. And if you have understanding of a SQL and Python on top of it, then it's like a cherry on the cake. SQL is very important. Even if you are, average at coding, just make sure that your SQL understanding and the SQL queries is very good, because that's going to help you in all the four roles that we are talking here. They are all built on top of data and database understanding, and the database query languages like SQL primarily, the structured query language is going to definitely help you a lot in your career. Then we have the data engineer. Now, this person makes the raw data usable to the data scientist. Now, what that means is when the systems produce data, it is a raw data. It is not refined. Just like the vegetables in the farms, they are not processed to a point that you can eat them. So it has to go through various stages from farm to your vegetable market. Then you buy it, then you cook it, you add ingredients to it, taste to it, and then you serve it on your plate and then you eat it. So the data also follows a kind of similar journey from the point when it is produced to a point when it is actually becomes meaningful and consumable, is what the data engineer is responsible for. He transforms the data for the data scientist and the other management groups in the organization so that they can make key decisions out of it. By transformation, I mean that a lot of data cleaning, adding new columns, renaming columns, and a lot of manipulation with the data basically. So for this, if you have basic Python skills, that will be very helpful. Python is not the only language. You can do it from R, Scala, and other languages which are supported in the big data world. But yeah, Python is relatively easy to understand. So if you don't know of it, you can pick up a course and you can quickly, not quickly, but yeah, over a period of time, you can get better at your programming skills on that. It will help you do a lot of manipulations on the data. Then you will have Excel skills are going to be very helpful, and the ability to, you should be passionate about the data and the problems that are associated to it. The kind of project that you are working in, you have to have some understanding of how the data is being produced, what all systems are communicating with each other, in what way. That type of understanding is also required and good to have actually for a data engineer role. Then we have the career path as a data scientist, which is, I'm sure all of you must have heard of this term, very fascinating. This is the person who prepares the model on top of the process data that data engineer produces. By preparing the model, basically means that, just to give you a quick example, if you go to Amazon and search for, let's say, a laptop, I want to buy a laptop, and you just do explore some options. And then if you go back to your Facebook or the other browsing channels, normally you will see that ads start coming up. It starts giving you the recommendation from various companies about the various models of the laptop, right? So basically, they are trying to engage the audience by providing them recommendations about the different from the different companies about the product that the customer wants to buy. So it's not like anybody's insisting you, but that recommendation can sometimes be very helpful. All right. So the basic Python programming, data scientist role has to have some proficiency in the Python programming, not just basic one actually, and build models basically, right? So I'll not go into the depth of this because building models is something which you will understand if you get into that side. But yeah, it's something that can be taken up at the entry level as well, right? So machine learning and programming languages and probability statistics are some of the skills that you will need to be a data scientist. Then the last but not the least is the ML engineer. The machine learning engineer is a programmer who's at the expert level actually, who research, build, and design the self-running softwares that enable machines to take decisions without being directed. Now, this is where we are talking about the artificial intelligence, AI, right? So here, this person has to have a good understanding of the end-to-end process, right from the data to the point where it can be deployed and delivered in the meaningful insights, right? So you cannot directly target this level, being very honest. This is a level which comes after some point in your career when you as you progress through different roles, as we discussed previously. But yeah, you can definitely get started as a data analyst or even as a data engineer or sometimes data scientist too. All right. So, and then this one over here is another additional field or career path that you can take. I mean, honestly, if you're not very much interested in the technology side of the data, but is still passionate about the data, then this is also one good career opportunity where data governance is the principled approach to managing data during its life cycle. It's basically about the procurement and the management of data. So on the right side in the circle, you will see that it talks about data architecture, data modeling, data quality. So all those aspects that are surrounded by the data. It's more of a data manager, a data custodian, a person who knows that, who defines to ensure that data is secure, private, accurate, available, and usable. You must have heard news about Mark Zuckerberg a few months ago, or probably a couple of years back, wherein he was questioned a lot about how Facebook captures people data and how he uses that, right? So there were a lot of questions about it. So after that, there have been a lot of regulations in place where organizations are restricted to, capture the user's data in a specific way. And then that data should also be used in a very specific manner and not for everything else. All right. So companies which depend mostly on the user data like Facebook, LinkedIn, Instagram, these are all, producers and consumers of data are both us users, right? So they in those kind of platforms, data governance plays a very important role. Now, so those were the career paths that you can take based on your interest or your career aspirations and the areas where you think that you do good or you are interested in. Now, in order to get started, that was basically what you can do. Now, how you can do that is basically by taking some certifications, or you can say the skills that are required to get into those roles. If you are an entry-level engineer in the industry, or you are a recent college pass out or going to be one, then these are some really good opportunities that you can leverage. For example, the Microsoft Azure is the cloud, which is very prominently used. We have a good amount of work in India also. There are a lot of projects in all the leading cities and all the companies. So what you can do is you can get started by taking the Azure fundamental course, which talks about what the Azure cloud is. It will help you build a basic understanding of cloud computing, and it will also help you with all the various services that are there in Azure at a very high level. Then you can also take the Azure Data Fundamentals, which is data specific fundamentals. Here you will learn about different types of data like structured data, unstructured data, and all that, which will be very helpful for you to eventually get into these major certifications, or you can say specializations. So even these two are good at the entry level for your own understanding and also for showcasing the employers that you have this skill set, right? If you are a very recent college pass out, then these certifications can be a very good credential for you to establish that you are aware of these skills and you can at least get started. Then based on the area of your interest or the kind of work that you are getting to do, you can take the database administrator career path or data engineer, as we discussed, or data analyst or data scientist or Azure AI engineer, right? So these were the 5 roles that we just discussed. And let me tell you that all 5 of these are very much closely coupled. So it's not like if you're already working as a database administrator, you cannot switch your career to a data engineer. These people are very closely working with each other in a real project. So all these roles depend a lot on each other. All right. So this is a kind of data specific career path in the learning path in the Microsoft Azure cloud. All right. Similarly, in the Amazon Web Services, AWS cloud also, you have a foundational level certification, which is called Cloud Practitioner. This will help you with the, the understanding of the Amazon cloud as a whole. Then you have the associate and professional level certifications, depending on the career path that you want to take. With regards to data, big data, they have a specialty level certification, which is now called AWS Certified Data Analytics specialty. All right. This as a whole talks about the various data technologies that the the Amazon cloud offers. And this will help you become a data engineer or play the data specific roles in the real projects. All right. So I would recommend that at the entry level, if you want to have the understanding of the AWS cloud, cloud practitioner is good to go. Later on, when you feel the need like, then you can go for the big data certifications. Honestly speaking, just doing the certifications in one shot is not going to be very helpful actually, if you do not have the hands-on experience. So the project knowledge and the real hands-on working in a project is very important to actually relate to these concepts. All right. Then we have last as the Google Cloud Platform, the GCP, which is the Google Cloud. This again has the foundational, associate, and professional level certifications. You can do a cloud digital leader to get familiarized with the Google Cloud. Then you can do the data engineer or DevOps engineer and so on. We are not talking about the other career aspects right now, but yeah, you can take the appropriate career path or the learning path in Google as well. And let me tell you that, let's say you are already working in the Azure cloud, like I am majorly working on Azure. The other 2 clouds are also very easy to understand and very relatable. They offer similar kind of services with slightly different names. So if you have good command on one cloud technology, then you can easily learn the other one, or you can quickly, work on a different project that has those technologies too. So it's not like if you start as the Azure engineer, then you will keep working in the Azure direction. It's not like that. So be very flexible when it comes to learning. Eventually, 5 or 10 years down the line, it will be good for you to have worked a little bit on all these 3 clouds, because these are going to play a key role in this decade. All right. In the GCP learning path, the main certification that you should take when you get to do the actual data-driven work is the professional data engineer. By doing these certifications, what essentially it means is that you can go through the course content, then you can appear for the examinations. Once you clear those exams, you can earn these beautiful badges, which you can showcase to your employers on LinkedIn or in your resumes, right? And that's how they can they would get to know that you are skilled in this particular area. All right. This really increases your chance of getting hired. I'm not saying this is the only factor, but it definitely makes you stand out in the rest of the world. All right. Then how do you get into the industry? Like briefly we discussed in the previous slides. Initially, I would suggest that don't think much about the money. But if you're just getting a internship in a startup or MNC, just go for it. Try to get the best out of it. Learn most technologies on the different ways of working, different domains, how actually industry functions. Since you guys are coming out of college or just starting afresh, it will be good to get accustomed to the ways of working in these projects, right? In the cloud world. There are a lot of things that you need to have the understanding on. Once you have that understanding in the first couple of years, then your career will just take a rocket speed. Trust me on that. There are a lot of good opportunities and the job market is really great. In the next slide, I'll talk about the salaries also. Then the second thing here is the junior cloud engineer roles. Thankfully, all the roles that we discussed in the previous 3-4 slides, they are all available at the fresher level as well. Not all the companies may do that, but they are available at the fresher level also. You can be a data engineer or a data analyst or even a data scientist with 0 years of experience, but some skill set, as I mentioned. So these certifications can help you build that kind of mindset, and then you can get into any one of these jobs. Like I said, opportunities are blooming out there. And I'm just talking about the India market. Opportunities of these roles is immense, right? So, and the last but not the least is if you are in the last semester or something, then campus placements is also a very good option. I know that we are not in the very good shape in terms of the industry. So the campus placements may or may not be very fruitful in these times, but regardless, you can definitely go for it outside of the campus. All right. Now there are some motivation slides for you. These are the average data professional salaries in India that I've taken from the surveys. Average, right? Just make sure that this is average. So the max can be like 20 lakh or even beyond. An average data engineer will earn like 8.5 lakh in a year. Data scientist is close to 10 lakh and a data analyst is like 5.5 lakh. Those just a very beginner level salaries. And believe me, guys, if you just have a skills like SQL, basic Python, and Excel, you can get started, and then your career will definitely take you to leaps and bounds if you are good at these technologies. And as you work in these technologies, you will definitely going to get better with time, right? So don't just think about the salary in the initial side. I mean, if you get land into any one of these numbers which are on the screen, I think it's a great kickstart. But even if you don't, just focus on the learning for initial couple of years, and then you will definitely pat on your back that you have taken a good decision, right? So with that, I'll just hand over to my colleague Harith here, who's with me, and he's gonna tell you that how we can help you drive this learning journey and get you into your dream job. All right, using a platform that's called Quick Skills, of course, which is organizing this webinar. So I'll just hand it over to Harith. Harith, please go ahead.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Aman. Thank you very much for this really useful and helpful webinar. And I hope all our participants are getting benefit from this learning sessions. So the purpose of this webinar was to explore like the all the buzzwords which we keep hearing: data analyst, data engineer, data is this, machine learning, those kind of buzzword which we keep learning. So to explain those words, to 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 explain those roles, fields, and basically tell you like how you can utilize this opportunity to make a good career. So I hope you all are having a good time and gaining something out of this session. So, so that's where we also come into picture. Coming back to this Quick Skills. So Quick Skills is nothing but it helps users and professionals to get cloud certified and also get hands-on cloud skills. So we are coming up with hands-on cloud labs where you can directly go and learn the cloud skills in real-time cloud environment. It is not just about learning or watching videos, like endless video streams of like how to do this and that. You need to you will be gaining the real hands-on skills on real cloud consoles. So that's the one thing which we are bringing, and as of now we offer very effective and original practice tests which helps you which help you get cloud certified. So I mean, you can check out on our platform. There are all certifications available. You can check out whatever certifications you are going to prepare, you will find on our platform, and also check out few cloud labs which are live, and just get the idea like how you can use them. So currently we are also, if you can just move into the second slide, next slide. Yeah, so you can use the special discount coupon that is available on the next slide. 25 webinar, that will give you 25% off And with that, I think we open up the Q&A session. You can ask anything, I mean, about the data opportunities or different data roles, or how quick skills will help you. So I request you to ask as as many as questions.
Guys, feel free
Yeah.
to ask any questions related to the points that we covered or anything else that is in your mind to get started with any of these rules, or any other challenge that you are facing in terms of getting started, or any questions you have. Please go ahead.
Yeah, you can type in or you can raise your hand. Okay, so one question, Aman, like many people have a misconception, or many times it get mixed up. Like we are talking about like data and the different opportunities or different fields it offers, and especially in last 10 years, 10 years after the explosion of mobile smartphones and the huge amount of data which is being generated, this different data fields have come up. But many people just they think data is also about like database. So can you just explain what is the difference between the database which has been there for a long time and these new fields which have been created in last 10 or 12 years?
Sure. So great question, Harit. And let me tell you, database is a very traditional term which everybody is almost familiar with. We have been using this term and this practice of capturing the data for past several years, like 30, 40 years maybe, and even beyond. So at that point, I mean, traditionally, earlier, the data used to be very structural, right? We didn't had mobile phones or, social media streams and the live data, the stock markets and all these things, which are producing data in the different formats, right? Nowadays, you can say a YouTube video is also a form of data, right? The
Right,
text-based
right.
files are also the form of data. So the audio files, the audios, videos, right? The short image clips, or the text-based systems, these are all the example of data. So coming to your question, these are some data points that you cannot capture in a traditional database. A database was something which was designed to capture a very structured form of data in the form of rows and columns, just like we have the Excel spreadsheet. Okay, in the Excel you can have the beautiful columns, and then you can have data in the form of rows underneath. So it is very easy to maintain, not easy to maintain, but at least non-technical people can also relate to it, and easily visible and adaptable. But as we move to the systems like we have Alexa, we have IoT systems, we have event hubs these days, right? All these systems are producing the data in their own way. So all this data cannot be just channelized and is streamed directly into a traditional structured database. And that's why the kind of data we have, the data roles or the data technologies that we have now are very different from the traditional database. By saying that, it doesn't mean that the importance of database is not there. At the bottom level, I mean, as a database or the data warehouse is the heart of any system even today. But in order to capture, store, and transform the other different kinds of data, for example, all these data coming from different systems, as I mentioned, you need to have more, smart technologies available, which the cloud offers. And also there's a problem with the sizing also. Earlier, the database that used to be available were on the physical servers. So there was a capacity or the infrastructure barrier with respect to storing the data. Now that thankfully, we have all these clouds, we do not need to worry about the space. So for example, Azure has a data lake. Data lake means you can dump whatever amount of data in whatever format as much as you want into it, and it will store it for you. You do not need to worry about the underlying hardware, that my system size, my RAM, my CPU, my storage. You don't need to worry about all these things, which you earlier had to worry about in case of typical traditional databases. So that's the difference.
Thank you for answering. Yeah,
Any other
guys, please
question?
ask. Yeah, please ask any question you have in your mind, or anything you want to understand or explain us.
I
Yeah,
think we
I
have a
think
question in the chat.
training and okay. Do we get live project training and certificate is to show that while going out? Uh, so currently at Quick Skills, we are not offering live project training or live classes. We are a practice platform. We are an exclusive like practice platform where you can come and you do the hands-on practicing for cloud skills, or also you will get the practice tests which will help you to clear the cloud certifications. So as of now, we are not offering the live classes, but I think on different note, I think Aman, like if somebody wants to get into this data field, like can you suggest what are the good courses or learning materials he or she can refer?
Sure. So yeah, I mean, to get started, I would say if you are completely unaware of cloud, what is cloud computing, then there are various platforms available which offer short courses about these things to build your understanding. So
Yeah,
to
I
get
think
started, you
best.
can do that.
Yeah, sorry to interrupt you. I think best courses or best learning materials are provided by those vendors themselves, like AWS or Google Cloud
Yes,
or
exactly.
Azure.
Yeah.
On their own websites or platforms, you will go. There is a section of training or learning, so you can take, and all those are free things. So you can take up those things, and then you will have a really good understanding. And after that, I think if you want to do practicing, you can always come back to the Quick Skills, and then you can test your knowledge, and then you can get certified. So certification is basically is a validation of your learning and your expertise on that particular domain or field, and it helps you to get you know job interviews, or it basically attracts the attraction of it gets the attraction of employers, and it really helps in your career, whether it's in the beginner phase or whether you are experienced, or the whatever phase you are at your career. So cloud certification really helps. Okay, and one more thing, I think, sorry, I think we missed out. Like if somebody wants to do a project kind of thing on data, like on machine learning, or because this is a common issue among among the people who are coming out of college, or some people who are at the very initial stage of their career, 0 to 3 years. So if somebody wants to do a kind of a real project or real assignment, how he or she can do that?
So I think the answer lies pretty much in Quick Skills platform itself. I would say Quick Skills has the cloud labs, which can not only help you, go through, let's say, to perform a particular task. Let's say you are learning Azure and you want to create a storage account. Just a random example. So Quick Skills is a kind of platform wherein you will not only get to know the steps to do it, but also it will spin up a real environment, a real Azure environment for you in the real time, where you can follow those steps and you can do actually hands-on lab to get that experience, to get that
Right.
understanding. So these are the things. That's a very good point, Harit, and I think that is something that people should try to focus on, because doing certifications is very good. It's great, but having the understanding of these things to do the on ground task, when you once you land into a job, you are assigned the day-to-day task, to have the understanding of what is going on and to
Right.
perform those tasks yourself, it is important to go through such kind of live project trainings or the hands-on lab, which allows you to actually do it yourself, right?
Mm.
It should not be a one-way system that is feeding to you. It should be interactive systems now.
Right.
So Quick Skills is a great example where you can not only learn that, but you can just implement and test your learning right there.
Right. So I think Finas Sodagar has a very good question, a very interesting question. What is the easy and fast path for data scientist?
Uh, Sorry, I don't see that question, but yeah, what's the question? What's the easiest path
Yeah,
for data scientist?
you can check it on chat, I think,
Yeah,
in chat section.
I have a different question there, but I can answer that wherever you are seeing this.
Yeah. What is the easy and fast fast path for data scientist? How one
Sure,
can
good,
begin?
great question. So absolutely, I don't know what level, what career level you are on, but just assuming that you are a fresher or just coming out of the college, I think starting as a is strengthening your core concepts on probability, statistics, and Python programming and SQL is going to be the key for you. You can maybe if you land into a good opportunity, you can directly get to work in a data scientist team, or otherwise you can, even if you start as a data analyst, this analyst person closely works with the data scientist because the reports and the data analysis that this data analyst performs is eventually serving the data scientist to build the models on top of it. So I would say instead of directly getting to start building the models, unless you are very proficient on programming languages like Python or R, it's better to get started with the data analyst so that you get into that sphere and get the understanding of what the data scientist is doing, how that role is dependent on the data engineer and data analyst. So these parts are correlated. Answering a short answer to your question is that you can get started either directly as a data scientist or you take the route of analyst or engineer or scientist. All these things are very correlated. If you get to work as a data scientist, you will see yourself surrounded with data engineers and data analysts also, because that's a common team in a real project, right? And they are very much correlated. So yeah, that's how you
Yeah,
can.
so I hope it helps, Finaj. There is another question like being a professional, which platform would you suggest between Azure and AWS? Beginner don't have much clarity about the same as market seems to be more directed towards AWS in India. I think it's a very real question.
Yeah, it's a great question. Let me answer that. So AWS, you will see the market segmentation more directed towards AWS. I mean, you may feel like that because AWS is the oldest cloud provider. Okay. So you will see relatively more projects or relatively more companies having that kind of cloud. But if you ask me personally, and you are a starter, if you do not have much idea initially for beginners, I think you should start with the Azure cloud. And I'll give you the reasons for that. Azure is backed by the Microsoft technologies, and you know that we all have been mostly using the Windows machines, the Windows operating system since our childhood, right? So Azure portrays things in a very user-friendly and very understandable way. And try taking the Azure fundamental course, for instance. If you just go through the content, any layman or any non-technical person can understand the functioning of how, what is Azure, what is cloud, and how things work in the real world, right? So the way the Azure portal also, I mean the UI where you get to work on the Azure technologies, that is also very simple. The technologies are also very relatable, and the way they have prepared their learning path and the courses is also something that you can quickly adapt to. And then you can switch to AWS and Google Cloud also. Having said that, I'm not saying that you should always start with Azure. You can start with any other cloud too. But personally, I feel that Azure as a beginner would be best for you. And there are multiple projects, not multiple. I mean, I think I don't have exact numbers, but I think Azure has the maximum data centers in the world, which is because they have maximum clients. So you can see more and more clients are moving to the Microsoft Azure cloud, and that's why in future or even in the current times you will see a lot of opportunities for the Microsoft Azure cloud role as well. And I mean, irrespective of that, you can get started and you can get to work on any of the clouds later on.
Okay, good. Yeah, guys, I request you please bring in more questions. Any question related to this webinar topics or the points which we have covered, or even in general about like cloud or data, please ask if you have any. Acha, one more thing, Aman, like, I mean, does one has to have a good mathematic skills to get into this data field?
Not really, I would say. To get into the data field, absolutely not. But once you get to the point of a proper hardcore data scientist who is supposed to build models, then yes, I think the understanding of probability and statistics and regressions This can be helpful because the algorithms that the data scientists make is very much dependent on these concepts. But I would definitely deny that one has to be very good at mathematics to start their journey. Not at all.
Maybe really for some. Okay, so question, please. I request again, please ask questions if you have any. I think this is a very important session which we are having right now, because we are covering a very hottest topic which is in a trend, or which is in the demand, or which is being talked all time. So just ask, or just shoot up your question. We are here to answer. Uh, yeah. So it's 3:48.
All right,
Yeah,
we have
I think,
another question.
yeah, we have.
As a data analyst slash engineer, required Excel good knowledge. So wondering if we need intermediate level knowledge or need to deep dive into it like VBA, etc. Good, great question again. I think intermediate level knowledge of Excel is also good. Honestly, even I'm not great at VBA yet, even after having 10 years of experience. So Excel is something which is huge, right? Excel and SQL is something that is never ending. You can never be perfect at that. Nobody can be perfect at that. And these are things which are always there, no matter what career stage you are in. Even if you are a VP or a CEO of a company, you are expected to have proficiency on Excel to maintain those fancy reports and data points that are shared in the board meetings. So yeah, coming to your question, I think intermediate level of knowledge is enough to get started. By intermediate, I think just pivoting or charting, getting data from different sources. And the best thing is that you get into a project, because once the need will arise, you will try to do it by hook or by crook, and that's how you learn, right? So taking courses to understand the shortcuts of doing the Excel stuff or the formulas and all that is good. It's great. I mean, that is what is expected from you, because if you're trying to perform a task and if you know the shortcuts and you're good at building formulas and all those things, you'll be able to do it faster than any other person, right? So there's a lot of automation or smart stuff that can be done within the Excel world, depending on what level of confidence or understanding you have. So Excel is great, but I think it gets better as you work more and more on it, right? From the data standpoint. VBA is literally like scripting within the Excel. It's like coding within the Excel, which is not very much expected or mandatory to have. However, if you have it, then you can really create very cool Excel sheets to kind of do a POC or a presentation even. You don't even need to get into Python or those kind of coding languages to do a short POC, for example, if you are good at VBA. So yeah, VBA is great, but not mandatory.
So there is another question for you, Aman. Hi, Aman. Can someone switch it to AWS who is already working on SAP? SAP. Can
Absolutely.
someone switch to AWS who is already working on SAP?
Absolutely. Why not? I mean, SAP is like a ERP system. AWS is, I mean, it's a cloud-based system.
Cloud-based.
If you, again, the answer lies on if you are slightly experienced already working on SAP, I assume the basic understanding will help you quickly adapt to any cloud environment or any cloud provider that you want to start for. You can take AWS Cloud Practitioner on Quick Skills, and you can learn those concepts for to get started with. And then depending on the kind of work you are doing, you can get the specialized certification too. But yeah, I mean, not only a SAP person, I would say even a non-technical person, or if you are from a semi-tech background or slightly from the BPOs or that kind of IT services background, it is fairly easy and very simple process nowadays, given that there is a learning path available, there is content available, content paid, free content, paid content, we have examinations, certifications. So all those things are immensely available nowadays. 10 years down the line or 15 years down ago, it was not the case. I mean, one had to actually understand and define the career path, and it was difficult to find the right examinations also. Now, Azure, AWS, and GCP, all three of them are coming out like the slides I've showed you. They are coming out with a proper flow of learning path that you do this, then do this, and do this to become this. So this is definitely something which anybody can take it.
So there is a very quick question, I think, without further explained or elaboration, like AWS versus GCP. Vivek has asked. So just give you the brief answer. I think Vivek, all three these cloud vendors or the cloud services, AWS or Azure or Google Cloud, they all are great. I mean, in their respective ways. I mean, like the companies that build these huge platforms like Google, Microsoft, or Amazon. They all are great companies. We almost every day we use either all three company products or at least one or two, right? I mean, without Google, it is impossible to imagine the life nowadays, right? I mean, in the same way with Amazon, right? And also the Microsoft, which we use most of the computers are still running on the Windows. So they all are great companies. So it is not about like which is better or which is not. Yeah, but yes, in terms of opportunities or in terms of like benefits, etc. I think Aman can explain it better.
Yeah, I think I would just add one point to it, guys. Since there's a lot of versus kind of questions you have in your
Right,
mind,
right.
let me just try to decode one important fact that you probably don't have understanding about. Most of the big projects or products or the organizations that have they have multi cloud kind of platform. Okay, so it's not like either this or that. Okay, it can be a cluster of that, because consider a platform like Paytm or Amazon. Okay, these are the systems which are like a super app. Okay, which are integrating multiple functionalities and data is different companies, so they have their own systems, right? So they do not uh, get centered towards one particular cloud only, because understand the risk. I know it's difficult for everyone to understand, but think about it from the organization standpoint. You would not like to keep all your risk in the same place, right?
Right.
If something goes down, if one particular service of Azure on which your entire infrastructure depends, imagine if that service goes down for 30 seconds. Although practically it doesn't happen because they are all SLA providers and all big companies, it doesn't happen, and that's why the word cloud. But imagine if there is something, I mean, YouTube also goes down sometimes, like
Right.
maybe just few minutes in a year, but it does. Imagine if you are completely dependent, your business is completely dependent on that point, then it's a risk, right? Any risk assessment person would say that this is a risk point. We need to mitigate it. So that's why organizations these days, they have to have they try to have these multi-cloud environment, wherein they have some services, some functions being leveraged from AWS, some of them are from Azure, little bit of GCP also. If not all three, then at least two I have seen very frequently being used, like Azure with GCP. Like even in the product that I am working on, it's 60-40 or 70-30, I would say, where 70% is GCP and 30% is cloud. Azure, right? So that with that kind of setup, the opportunities for learning and the way you can learn and explore more about yourself and your career is multidimensional. So that's even good.
Yeah. And Haripriya has asked a question like, what is the difference between Azure and AWS? So I think I mean, Aman will explain it better, definitely. But the cloud technology is a generic technology. I mean, it's a generic technology, right? I mean, so these are the products built upon that technology. Google Cloud, Amazon, AWS, or Azure. So cloud is a generic technology. So most of things are common, but yes, I mean, every cloud vendor has its own way of doing or building things, or different tools, services, or different mechanism. So I think Aman can
Yeah.
answer it
No,
better.
absolutely. Harit, you are absolutely right. The one line difference is that Azure, they are both cloud providers, and Azure is backed by Microsoft, and AWS is backed by Amazon. Both are
Right.
two different companies, and both of them are big names in their own world, in their own space. Microsoft is the legacy, as always, you know that. Amazon is also rich in all aspects. So they have their own cloud, and likewise GCP. GCP is backed by Google, right? Think of it from simply like this. For example, you want to buy a 65 inches a smart TV. You go to a shop, you have TVs from Sony, the same TV from Panasonic, the same TV from somebody else. right?
True.
5 companies are selling the same configuration, or for example, the smartphone. You'll get the same configuration from 10 different providers.
Right.
Likewise. So there
Right.
are minor differences because they are different companies. So the terminology may difference, pricing may be different, but otherwise at the core, if you think from a data engineer standpoint, it's not a very big deal because
Right.
the underlying technologies, the languages are same. The way you will write Python here, you will write
Right.
the Python or SQL queries the same way in AWS.
Right. Right. Another example is like web browser, right? Web browser, we use it to access or communicate over the internet, basically to access the internet. That's what the basic function or the primary function of any web browser. But you have different kinds of web browser, right? Earlier, it used to be an Internet Explorer. I mean, it is still there, but it was a dominating web browser. And then Google Chrome came in, and then there is a Mozilla, Firefox, and then there is a new entrant, which is a Brave, right? So whichever way you like it, whichever product you like, or you can use that. But does they all do the same thing, which is providing you access to internet. Yeah, I think there is another question.
Yeah, there's one question is I'm a GCP certified cloud engineer and how beneficial
Yes.
it is to learn AWS in addition to GCP. Okay,
Okay.
well,
Good question.
answer is twofold. One is that it depends on your curiosity of learning. It's great to be certified if you're working in the data world. Then and these three, as we all know, are the leading providers. Most of the projects are of these three clouds only. So it's great to be certified in all three of them. It's great. But a more practical answer is that if you are if you have gotten an opportunity to move to a AWS project and you are working on it, and then you are living and breathing the environment of AWS, and then you are coming across some challenges or you want to enhance your understanding to to increase your understanding level, then you can take the certification while you are being in that project. So understand, guys, one line answer for everyone is that certification is not a mandate to get into a job or a project, but having one can really make your path easy in terms of
Right.
getting noticed more for the employees. That's one thing. Second is your own understanding. If somebody is aiming at the entry level, at least if somebody is aiming for a data scientist or a data engineer role, and somebody is Azure fundamentals certified and somebody is not, then the understanding level will be definitely different because one person knows the technologies, terms, and how things work. At least he has seen an Azure portal, how it works. So, so the chances of that person getting that role is very high as compared to the other one. So these are the things that you can, just add to your profiles, which makes you look good in the eyes of employers. That's the
Right.
main thing.
Yeah, right. So I think there is a one comment, not a question. Arun has said, like, correct. I remember it happened with Netflix, but they still survived. Yeah, it's true. I mean, because see, nothing is foolproof. I mean, on Earth or on this universe, nothing is foolproof. Things happen and keep changing.
Yeah, I
That's
think
why there is always a
Arun is talking about the point when Netflix went down for some time.
yes, yes, yeah, yeah.
Yeah,
It
so
happened.
likewise, it happened with YouTube too. I mean, I remember
Yeah,
my organization had a very major event that was being broadcasted using YouTube also, and in that very 30 minutes time of the year, YouTube went down. It's I think it's the matter of just last year, November or December, that it went down for an hour, and during that 1 hour, 30 minutes was the time span where my CEO was supposed to launch something and do something very great, a press release kind of thing in those 30 minutes of broadcasting in YouTube. So you can understand the risk associated, and
I
that's
think
why later
everybody.
it shifted.
I think everybody remember that few months ago, WhatsApp was also down, right? WhatsApp and
Yeah,
all
yeah,
three Facebook,
all three services were down.
products, Facebook, Instagram, and WhatsApp. So it happens. It happens. It's a real world full of uncertainties. So nothing is foolproof. But that's why there is always a backup plan for that.
Yes.
So I think with with that we, I think no more questions coming in.
Any other questions, guys? Please shoot.
Yeah, please shoot. Okay. So I think no more questions, and I think we can wrap it up. So thank you everybody. First of all, Aman, thank you for taking out time and then delivering such a important topic. I mean, such a good content on this important topics, important topic, and I hope everybody uh, got benefited from this session, and it will definitely help you in your career, or making good decisions about getting into the data field. So with that, I think we are signing off. Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Have a great day.
Thank you, everyone. Thanks for taking our time to join us. Have a nice day. Bye-bye.